Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a hard look at a concept that completely redefines financial security. You see, for most of us, financial stability basically means a steady paycheck, right? But what if that exact same paycheck is actually acting as a silent ceiling on your true financial potential? Let's break this paradox down logically and map out a real, structured blueprint to move you from financial dependence to true independence. So let's start by looking right at our biggest vulnerability. I really want you to ask yourself, what actually happens if the paycheck just stops? For the vast majority of professionals out there, even the highly compensated ones, the honest answer is a pretty rapid deterioration of their lifestyle and their safety net. It's a question that challenges our whole definition of security, and it reveals this hidden fragility in how most of us structure our lives. And that fragility brings us straight to what we call the salary trap. This happens when your entire financial life depends entirely on a single monthly paycheck. Now, to be absolutely clear, we're not talking about a lack of income here. We're talking about a dangerous single point of failure in your personal financial infrastructure. Look, in systems engineering, a single point of failure is considered a critical flaw. Yet somehow, in personal finance, it's just accepted as standard operating procedure. Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to cover the illusion of security, the mechanics of the trap, the wealth formula, 3 paths to freedom, the 4 stages, and finally, true financial independence. Let's jump into Section 1, the illusion of security. Now, it's really essential to understand why a situation that feels so comfortable is actually incredibly precarious. Think about the danger of Stage 1 dependence, where 100% of a person's income is generated from just one source, the salary. While that steady direct deposit every month feels like a warm security blanket, the stark reality is that relying entirely on a singular funding source leaves you deeply vulnerable. If that source gets disrupted, whether it's layoffs, a health issue, or an economic downturn, well, the entire income stream literally disappears overnight. Moving on to Section 2, the mechanics of the trap. So how do highly intelligent professionals making great money still end up trapped? Well, it usually comes down to a few specific operational failures. First up is lifestyle inflation. You know how it goes. As the income goes up, the spending goes right up with it. Instead of deploying that extra capital into investments, people upgrade the house, the car, the gadgets. Second, there are absolutely no additional income sources. Third, they're strictly trading time for money. If they stop working, the money stops flowing instantly. And finally, there's a complete lack of asset building. You can spend decades pulling in a massive salary, but if you aren't building assets along the way, you're just running on a treadmill. I want to pause right here on this foundational truth. The trap is not having a salary. A salary is actually a fantastic tool. The trap is having only a salary. A paycheck needs to be viewed as your starting point, basically the initial seed capital for your own personal financial enterprise. It shouldn't be your entire financial identity. Which brings us to Section 3, the wealth formula. If you want to transition from inefficient capital allocation to real wealth generation, you have to make a strategic pivot. The flawed consumer mindset dictates that your salary flows straight into expenses, and maybe whatever happens to be left over goes into savings. But the successful owner mindset completely flips that formula. Salary flows first into investments, and only the remainder dictates the lifestyle expenses. Successful wealth builders literally pay themselves first. They prioritize acquiring assets that compound their wealth long before funding their daily lifestyle. Let's move to Section 4, 3 paths to freedom. Now, theory is great, but it's only useful when actually applied. Think of these as the 3 pillars of your new financial infrastructure. Step 1, build income-producing assets. These are vehicles that work for you whether you're awake or asleep. Step 2, create a second income stream. This immediately takes the pressure off that primary paycheck. And step 3, invest consistently. We're looking for steady, disciplined capital allocation here, because mathematically, consistency will always outperform your attempts to perfectly time the market. Let's ground this in reality for a second. Income-producing assets could be things like stocks, index funds, rental properties, automated businesses, digital products, or even royalties. Second income streams could come from freelancing, content creation, or consulting. For example, simply redirecting 20% of your primary salary into index funds is an incredible initial engine for this machine. The strategy here is absolutely not to abandon your current job. The strategy is to view your current salary as the seed capital you need to systematically fund these specific vehicles over time. And that leads into Section 5, the 4 stages. Executing these paths requires a highly realistic timeline. On day 1, Your independence. 100% of your income is that single salary. Over months 1 through 12, you enter diversification by adding a side income. Then from years 1 to 5, you're in the aggressive asset building phase, compounding your salary, your side income, and those early investment returns. Finally, year 5 and beyond, you hit financial independence. At this stage, the yield from your assets independently covers your living expenses. You have successfully engineered your way out of the trap. Finally, Section 6, True Financial Independence. Look, reaching true independence requires serious discipline and avoiding self-sabotage. Let's clinically address a few common pitfalls you need to avoid. First, do not make the mistake of thinking a higher salary alone creates wealth. It really just equals higher cash flow. Second, avoid inflating your lifestyle with every single promotion. Third, never wait for the perfect time or the perfect market to start investing. And above all, never settle for having only one source of income. Avoiding these operational errors is completely non-negotiable if you want to make a successful transition. I also want to explicitly shoot down a rather dangerous and reckless trope you see a lot online. The goal is not to dramatically quit your job tomorrow. That's financial self-destruction. It's not financial independence. The truly intelligent approach is to retain your current stability and ruthlessly use your salary as a strategic tool to buy your future freedom asset by asset. I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The salary trap isn't about earning too little. It's about depending on a single source of income. The moment your assets start paying you more than your employer, you've begun the journey from employee to owner. And that's where true financial freedom begins. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. I really encourage you to consider your own financial architecture today. What is your single point of failure costing you right now? And what will be the very first asset you build to replace it?